You also want to check your fifth wheel, the bolts on the fifth wheel, make sure those are all good. If there's any new rust. Coming around the back of the truck, we want to make sure that the mud flaps have the reflective. You also have to have reflective tape on the corner of the cab. It has to be white. There you see we have a one on the left and one on the top. And over here we have one on the right. We're missing the one on the top right there. You can see where it's actually come off. So that should be written up on the VIR, and we'll get it replaced. Then as you're coming around the back of the truck, you're going to look for your tail lights and everything else you can see from here.
Ready?
Yep. You want to make sure you see light on your for the license plate. From the back, you want to look at your torque rod. You don't want bushings, the bushing to come out or see any new rust or anything like that. Same thing on the side on the frame. Then you want to look at your rear end. Make sure there's no oil leaks, no drips. The plug is there. There's no rust or rot around the top or any seeping. Your drive shaft, you're going to look at your U-bolts or U-joints, sorry, your cross, your the front of it where it goes into the rear end, and then the yoke, your drive line. You want to see where it comes out of the front rear end. Make sure those are all good. It's kind of tough to see those from the back, but you can probably see it from the front one when you're looking at that. Then you just want to look at all your hoses, make sure they're nice and P-clamped and where they're supposed to be and not rubbing. And if there's any junction where they're rubbing or crossing one another, they have separators like that, or they're zip tied together like that, so they can't rub back and forth. Just want to check your brake cans, your slack adjusters, make sure everything looks good there. Here the brakes are set so you can see how much the throw is. And you don't want more than 2 inches of throw. You can see where the wear mark is, right there. And that's where it sets when it's not pushed out. So there's only probably 1.5 inches of throw. 2 inches is the limit. You're looking at your fifth wheel. You want to make sure your jaw is open, ready to accept the pin. Your handle's out, and then you go around to your other wheels and you'll look at your shocks, the inside on your left wheels, and take your pressure and look at your wheels and go up the left side. Checking tire pressure, you're checking your tire tread depth, your wheels, your sidewalls, your lugs, your axle lugs. No new rust. 110 pounds. On this truck, the leveling valve is actually on the front axle. Every truck and trailer are a little bit different. That's your leveling valve, that's your leveling arm, and the linkage will go down to the axle. There's a little exhaust valve, exhaust line coming out the bottom. If you hear it pissing air out of there, it might just be that it's not on the level. If you're on the level and it continues to do it, then your valve's probably not right. but that's what puts the air in your airbags. So if you're overinflated or underinflated, you want to check your linkage and check that arm, make sure it's level. If it's up and the arm is sloped up, then it's not, it should be putting air in. If it's sloped down, it should be letting air out. So it's overinflated and should be letting air out. If you move it into one of those positions and it doesn't do anything, then there's an issue with the valve. You can continue up your left side, looking at the inside of your tire or the inside of your wheel, your brakes, all that stuff. The step, make sure your step is secured, your lines are secured. If you have a bar like that, that has to be secured. No bungee cords. Bars cannot be secured with bungee cords. With a bungee cord, there's no load rating system, so you can't use a bungee. Even if you had it on the catwalk, you'd have to have at least a 2-inch strap to hold it. He's looking at his fuel tank on the left side, looking at his step, making sure the cap's on good, the straps are good. His mirror. He's gonna go latch his hood, side light, latch his hood, and then do his front wheel. Check his hub level, his lugs, his wheel, tire, tread depth. Three points of contact back into the truck. Gonna shut off your 4-ways. You turn on your high beams. On this truck, it's on the blinker handle right there. Click up your high beams, and then you're gonna jerry rig your brakes. Gary, can you show us that again? For this one, what works perfect is a flashlight pushed underneath the position for the tilt position lever. All you want to do is just push them enough so that the light will come on. He's going to go back, check for brake lights. Good deal. Then he's going to go up, and he's going to check for high beams.
Both high beams.
Good, both high beams. Now we're gonna go back up into the truck, take your high beams off, take the jerry rig off for the brake lights, and we're gonna do the in-cab checks. First thing we do is we check our horn, city horn, highway horn. Now we're gonna check our windshield washers and our make sure the washer has fluid. Washers have to have fluid. You can't have any chips in the windshield in the path of the wipers. Now we're going to check the truck brakes. We're going to release the brakes. We're going to push in the yellow button, and we're going to watch the dash, the gauges on the dash, and they'll drop probably about 5 pounds, but they should stop. Go ahead. So your primary will drop probably about 5 pounds, and then it should level off. You should stop hearing air. If you continue to hear air, there must be a problem on the emergency brake side or something with the suspension. After you release the brakes by pushing in the yellow button, stick your head out the door and listen for any air leaks. The second part of the test is applying the foot brake. You push the foot throttle, you want to watch the gauges, and they should drop initially only about 1 or 2 pounds and then stop. You shouldn't hear any air continuing to leak. Apply your foot pedal, apply the brake, and listen for any leaks. When you release the brakes, Do it quick and make sure you hear a good release noise. All that air exhausted. It wasn't a slow exhaust. It would indicate a quick release valve not working. Last thing you do is shut your door and check your mirrors. Some trucks have adjustable mirrors. Here you can do the left one, do the right one, up, down, left or right. But from your setting position, you want to be able to look in your mirror and see just a little bit of the truck. You don't want to have to move over or adjust how you're sitting in the seat to see what you need to see. Get comfortable in the seat and then set the mirrors to where you're sitting. Same thing with the right side. You don't want the whole mirror of your trailer. You want it to be set just right so you just see a little bit of it as a reference point. And then check your convex mirrors, your fender mirror. Make sure you have just enough of that for a reference point. You're going to be able to see a car in your blind spot, and everything's set and ready to go. Now you're good to go. The pre-trip is done. The last thing to do is pull down your VIR, and you're going to sign it as the reviewing driver, and you're going to keep that with you all day, and you're going to turn it in at the end of the day with your paperwork. You're going to fill out a brand new one as a reporting driver. Now we're going to do the coupling procedure. You want to pull up in front of your trailer, get lined up nice and straight, back up to it, get out and check your height. Make sure you're nice and straight in your mirrors. The side of your trailer or the side of your truck is going to match up with the side of your trailer, nice and square. Are just inside the edge of the trailer. It's going to back up nice and square to it and stop just before it goes over the back wheel. Make sure he's at the right height. Always get out and check the height of your trailer. You want to make sure it's going to not hit your frame and it's going to ride up on your fifth wheel, and your fifth wheel is in the right position. Make sure you're the right height, so your fifth wheel is going to just slide underneath your trailer, lift your trailer up just a little bit. You want to make sure your fifth wheel is sloped down, so the edge of it isn't sloped up where it could damage the front of the trailer. Your handle is open, and your jaws are open, ready to accept the kingpin. Fifth wheel is like this, or it's tilted up. The back of the fifth wheel, these points are actually going to smash into the front of the trailer and cause big damage. So you want to make sure that that's down sloping, not even level. You want it to be sloped down in the back, so it'll approach right up on the plate. If it's up, make sure you take a rag, something, move it so it's down, ready to accept the trailer. You're backing under it. You want it to be just nice and slow, nice and easy. Lift it up just a little bit. Get that to go underneath. No tug test. You couple, set your parking brake, get out, and we'll check the fifth wheel. Gary's got his flashlight. He's gonna duck walk underneath, look up at the back of the fifth wheel, make sure it's closed, He's going to look at the handle, make sure the handle's in. Back of this fifth wheel has one pin that crosses the kingpin. That's what you want to see. No daylight between the fifth wheel and the bottom of the trailer. You also want to make sure that that handle is all the way in. I'll show you a few different fifth wheels that we have. This is the most common, but there's different jaw source points. This is another kind of fifth wheel. This one's another Holland, I believe, or Joust. This has two jaws that come around, or two bars. The one bar comes around and the other one is a slack adjuster. Basically it takes the slack out of it. It's tapered, so the further it goes across, the more slack it takes out. This one's not ready to accept a pin because it's not all the way back. It's pulled out a little bit so you can see the difference. This is a Joust fifth wheel. The pin hits this piece and then the back piece slides behind. So you'll still see one bar come across and then the handle will be in. Okay. See the two pieces where the jaws come across?
Yes.
The one that holds it and then the one that takes the slack out of it. It has to go in a little bit further for it to come all the way across, but it's kind of tough by hand. This is the underside of a fifth wheel. It's getting rebuilt. This fifth wheel has a different style of jaws. It has two that come together from both sides and a horseshoe shaped thing that goes down and holds them together. That's the new one that's getting put in. But when you look at one like this from the back, you see the two jaws coming together. It would look like that, where you'd have the two of them come together like that. Then you won't see any of the pin and you'd know that it's latched. Alright, yep. Once you've checked your fifth wheel pin, crank your landing gear. If you go to crank your landing gear and it's hard to crank, go to low gear by pulling it out. Crank it a dozen times or so. Should go easy. And then put it back into high gear